When somebody comes up to me and says, well, carbon dating has proven the Earth is millions of years old, immediately they have told me they don't even understand the carbon dating process. Because carbon dating has nothing, zero zilch nada, to do with millions of years. And that's not Carl Kirby the Christian or the creationist talking. That's the process. Carbon dating is only done on things that were once alive and can only date things because of the half-life of carbon-14. It will only go back at maximum 80 to 100,000 years. Now, I don't believe those long dates there either. But it is not used for millions of years. What people mean to say is, well, what about radiometric dating? What about radioisotope dating? Because those are the supposed methods that are used to give the millions of years. I want you to imagine, we're going to use real science tonight, observational empirical science. We're going to use our 5 senses in the present, and we're going to make an observation. We're going to come up with a hypothesis, and then we're going to see if we can't do some real science to figure something out. Now, when you came in here this evening, imagine that I had a candle up here on the screen, and this candle was burning. We're going to use our 5 senses to make an observation and come up with a test. I'm going to help you because I'm a really nice guy. I'm going to give you a pencil, a piece of paper, and a stopwatch. And I'm going to help you even more because I'm a really nice guy. I'm going to put very precise marks on this candle. Your job is to use your 5 senses in the present and tell me how long it's going to take for that candle to melt from one point all the way down to the bottom. Can you do it? And the answer is yes, you can. How would you do it? You would start your stopwatch when it gets to one line. You would stop the stopwatch when it gets to the next line. It took 5 minutes. You have an observation. Now, what do? You come up with a hypothesis. You count down how many lines there are. There's 29 lines from there down to there. 29 times 5. Your assumption is it's going to remain the same throughout. 29 times 5, 2 hours and 25 minutes. You now have a hypothesis. Can you test your hypothesis? And the answer is, yes, you can. How would you do it? As the candle melts even further down, you start your stopwatch when it gets to a line, you stop it when it gets to the next line. It took 5 minutes again. Wow, you've done real science because of this process, which originated in the Judeo-Christian biblical mindset. You now have a very safe assumption that that's how long it's going to take because you've used observational science. You've observed, you've come up with a test, repeated it, you've verified it. But now let me ask you a simple question. How tall was the candle when it first started burning? Can you tell me how tall the candle was when it first started burning? Remember, when you came into this room, the candle was already burning. You can't tell me how tall the candle was because you weren't there. You have to assume, oh, the standard candle's 12 inches tall, so it was 12 inches tall. Sorry, I like 16-inch candles. You don't know how long the candle was burning before you came into the room. Let me ask you another question. How long was the candle burning before you came into the room? You don't know that either. Because you can't test, repeat, verify that. You have to assume. Here's the problem. Historical science cannot answer those questions. You have to assume. You have to assume how much uranium was in that rock to begin with. You see, radioisotope dating tells us how long it takes for uranium to decay into lead, rubidium into strontium, potassium into argon, and there's no argument about that. We can test, repeat, verify that. We know exactly how long it takes for uranium to decay into lead. Do we know how much uranium was in the rock to begin with? No, we don't. Do we know that that rock hasn't been filtered with water because water will leach radioisotopes in or out? We don't know that. Do we know that the those decay methods have stayed the same for millions and millions of years? We don't know that. We have to assume. My point is this. They have to assume. They don't get dates. They get ratios, and they use a mathematic formula to come up with a date. They have assumptions. I've got assumptions. My assumption, God was there. I'm trusting him. He said there was no death before Adam sinned. He said that he created in 6 days. I trust him. I have faith. But what I see in the world is consistent with what I read here. It's not a blind faith.